The Beatles, from Liverpool to legends. Origins and formation. The Beatles' story begins in Liverpool, England, a bustling port city where diverse cultures influenced the music scene. Liverpool was home to a working-class spirit and resilience, shaping the early lives of John, Paul, George, and Ringo. In 1956, John Lennon formed a skiffle group called the Quarrymen, inspired by the DIY ethos of skiffle music. Skiffle music mixed jazz, blues, and folk elements, popular among youth seeking to break free from traditional genres. John met Paul McCartney at a church fete in 1957, bonding over their shared love of rock and roll and a mutual respect for musical skill. Paul's impressive ability to learn new songs quickly and his knack for songwriting made him an ideal partner for John. Soon after, Paul introduced his friend George Harrison, a young but talented guitarist who played with precision and passion. George's skills added a new dimension to the group, blending seamlessly with John and Paul's rhythm and harmony. As a trio, they began performing in small Liverpool clubs, particularly the Cavern Club, where they developed a loyal following. Their style was rough around the edges, but their raw energy and dedication to their music won over fans. In 1960, the band traveled to Hamburg, Germany, where they performed lengthy, all-night sets in challenging conditions. This Hamburg experience helped them hone their stage presence, and they returned to Liverpool as seasoned performers. During their time in Hamburg, they met Ringo Starr, a charismatic drummer with a steady rhythm and an easygoing attitude. Ringo's addition to the group in 1962 completed the classic Beatles lineup, creating a chemistry that would soon captivate the world. Rise to fame and Beatlemania. In 1962, with their lineup complete, the Beatles signed with EMI and released their first single, Love Me Do. The song made a modest impact, but it hinted at the potential that lay within the band's catchy melodies and vocal harmonies. Their follow-up single, Please Please Me, was an instant success, topping the charts and sparking the phenomenon known as Beatlemania. Fans across Britain fell in love with their fresh sound and playful charisma, making them household names almost overnight. Their performances were marked by unprecedented excitement, with crowds of young fans filling concert halls and screaming their names. This level of fan devotion was rare, and it quickly turned the Beatles into a cultural sensation across the UK. As Beatlemania reached fever pitch in the UK, the Beatles set their sights on America, appearing on The Ed Sullivan Show in 1964. Over 73 million people tuned in to watch the Beatles perform, marking the start of the British invasion and forever altering American music. Their performance of songs like I Want to Hold Your Hand captured the hearts of American audiences and ignited a cultural shift. With their distinctive style, humor, and magnetic personalities, they became symbols of youthful optimism and freedom. The Beatles' mop-top haircuts, matching suits, and infectious energy inspired a new fashion trend, and their image became iconic worldwide. Young people began to imitate their look and attitude, and the Beatles' influence extended far beyond their music. Their music dominated the charts, and they soon became international stars, symbolizing the spirit of the 1960s generation. Musical evolution and innovation. By 1965, the Beatles' music was evolving rapidly, showcasing a newfound maturity and willingness to explore new sounds. Their album Rubber Soul marked a turning point, introducing introspective lyrics and more sophisticated musical arrangements. Songs like Norwegian Wood, featuring George Harrison's sitar, demonstrated their openness to Eastern influences. The introspective lyrics of In My Life revealed a personal, reflective side of the band, resonating with a broader audience. With their next album, Revolver, they took experimentation further, incorporating psychedelic elements and avant-garde techniques. Tracks like Tomorrow Never Knows and Eleanor Rigby broke new ground, showing the Beatles' desire to challenge conventions. Revolver introduced complex studio effects, including backward recordings and layered instrumentation, that redefined the pop music landscape. Their experimentation set the stage for future albums, establishing the studio as a place for limitless creativity. In 1967, the Beatles released Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, an album that would become a cultural touchstone. This album, with its surreal, colorful soundscapes, captured the spirit of the psychedelic era and became a symbol of the 60s. Songs like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and A Day in the Life showcased the Beatles' range and introduced fans to new artistic expressions. Pepper's elaborate cover art, filled with cultural icons and historical figures, became as iconic as the music itself. The Beatles' embrace of experimentation and artistic risk inspired countless musicians to push their own boundaries. They demonstrated that music could be art, breaking free from the traditional limitations of the pop genre. Social and cultural impact. Beyond music, the Beatles became symbols of peace, love, and social change, embodying the ideals of the 1960s counterculture. In 1967, they performed All You Need Is Love for a global audience, sending a message of unity and compassion. This performance resonated deeply with fans, becoming an anthem for those who yearned for a world of understanding and connection. As public figures, the Beatles used their fame to advocate for social issues, influencing their audience to consider new perspectives. Their journey to India in 1968 to study meditation with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi marked a transformative moment in their lives. The Beatles' interest in Eastern spirituality introduced many Western fans to concepts of meditation, yoga, and self-discovery. Songs like Across the Universe reflected this shift towards introspection and mindfulness, inviting listeners to explore their inner lives. Their exploration of spirituality broadened their music, making it more than just entertainment. It became a path for reflection. The Beatles' embrace of peace and self-expression resonated with those challenging societal norms, further establishing their status as cultural leaders. As the 1960s progressed, the Beatles became increasingly vocal about their beliefs, often using their music to reflect social changes. Their willingness to challenge conventions helped inspire a generation to seek personal freedom and question authority. Their influence extended beyond their lyrics, as they became role models for fans searching for purpose and meaning. Iconic albums and songs. In the late 1960s, the Beatles released a series of iconic albums that reflected their growth as individual artists. The White Album, a double album, offered raw, unfiltered look at the band's diverse musical interests, from rock to ballads to avant-garde. Songs like While My Guitar Gently Weeps, featuring Eric Clapton, and Blackbird, an acoustic ballad, became fan favorites. Each track revealed a different side of the Beatles, showcasing their individual voices and growing creative independence. Released in 1969, Abbey Road became a cohesive work of art, despite the internal tensions that were beginning to pull the band apart. With hits like Come Together and Here Comes the Sun, the album combined polished production with heartfelt lyrics. The album's iconic cover, featuring the band crossing Abbey Road, became one of the most famous images in music history. This simple, memorable image symbolizes the Beatles' journey and their lasting impact on culture and music. The Beatles' music continued to evolve, with each album bringing a new level of complexity and maturity. Their willingness to explore different genres, from rock and folk to experimental sounds, cemented their legacy as musical pioneers. Songs like Hey Jude and Let It Be resonated deeply with audiences, reflecting themes of love, loss, and resilience. These songs have endured as timeless classics, continuing to inspire listeners around the world. As they progressed musically, the Beatles' lyrics became more reflective and personal, addressing both universal themes and intimate emotions. Their work in this era laid the foundation for modern popular music, influencing artists across generations. Personal lives, dynamics, and challenges. While the Beatles achieved remarkable success, their journey was not without challenges, especially as personal tensions began to surface. The presence of new influences, including relationships and business responsibilities, created challenges within the group. As the band members grew, they each sought to express themselves independently, sometimes leading to conflicts over creative direction. Paul's drive to keep the Beatles on a structured path sometimes clashed with John's growing interest in avant-garde art and activism. John's relationship with Yoko Ono also brought new dynamics, as they began collaborating artistically and exploring different creative paths. Yoko's influence on John introduced new experimental elements to the Beatles, which sometimes led to tension among the group. George Harrison, who had grown as a songwriter, felt his contributions were often overlooked, leading to frustration and a desire for autonomy. Ringo, the stabilizing presence within the band, found himself caught between the differing creative visions of his bandmates. Arguments over management and business decisions further strained their relationships, adding a layer of complexity to their interactions. The pressures of fame and the constant demands of the public began to wear on them, leading to feelings of isolation and burnout. Despite these challenges, they continued to produce innovative music, even as the strains on their relationships became more apparent. Their story reveals the complexities of fame, friendship, and the pursuit of artistic freedom in a constantly evolving industry. The breakup and legacy of their solo careers. By 1970, the tensions within the Beatles had reached a breaking point, and the band announced their breakup, marking the end of an era. Their final album, Let It Be, was released after their separation, and its reflective songs hinted at the bittersweet nature of their departure. Despite the heartbreak of their separation, each member pursued successful solo careers, contributing to their collective legacy in new ways. John's solo work, including the iconic song Imagine, explored themes of peace, human rights, and personal freedom. Paul McCartney formed the band Wings and continued to experiment with different styles, achieving hits like Live and Let Die. George Harrison's solo career flourished, with albums like All Things Must Pass showcasing his introspective, spiritual approach to music. Ringo Starr also found success as a solo artist, producing several albums and enjoying a steady career that endeared him to fans. Their solo work demonstrated their individual creativity, revealing unique facets of their personalities and talents. The Beatles' breakup marked the end of an era, but their influence continued to shape music, fashion, and popular culture for decades. Fans remained devoted to each member's work, creating a legacy that extended beyond the Beatles as a band. The Beatles' legacy and lasting influence. Decades after their breakup, the Beatles' influence on music, fashion, and culture remains unparalleled and enduring. Their innovative approach to songwriting and recording set a high standard that musicians continue to aspire to. Today, their music is celebrated and studied, proving that their impact transcends generations and inspires listeners across the globe. From rock to pop to hip-hop, the Beatles' influence is present in nearly every genre, continuing to shape the sound of modern music. Beyond their music, the Beatles left an indelible mark on fashion, film, and art, becoming cultural icons who defined an era. Their dedication to creativity, experimentation, and unity has inspired generations to think beyond boundaries and create with passion. With fan clubs, tribute concerts, and monuments worldwide, the Beatles remain symbols of love, resilience, and cultural influence. Their story is an inspiring reminder of the power of music to bring people together and to foster dreams that transcend time. As pioneers who redefined popular music, the Beatles' legacy endures, proving that true artistry knows no bounds. Their journey from Liverpool to global icons highlights the lasting power of music and creativity to change the world. Share your thoughts in the comments. For more history insights and compelling stories, subscribe, like, and share.